Hello, welcome to the Churchill Wild Overview. I'm glad you guys decided to check in with us on this. I've got some great information to pass along to you, so we'll get started. Churchill Wild is a fairly small company. We are family run. Our idea is to be able to offer guests that off the beaten path safari with polar bears. The history of our company is Mike and Jeannie Reimer are the owners and operators of the company, and they have been doing it for 22 years and continue on for many more years to come. The family is very much a Churchillian family. They grew up in the Churchill area and raised their kids there as well. The things that make Churchill Wild unique, and this is kind of sets us apart from the other Churchill operators, is that we are the only ones offering ground level walking safaris. Our adventures start in July and they go all the way to November, and we operate from remote fly-in lodge location, and we do offer a full course dining family style. So those are the big things that make us unique. Our passion is to be able to offer guests the ability to see wildlife and have a minimal impact on the wildlife as well as the environment. While the guests are at the lodge, we want to make sure that we're not just showing them the area wildlife. We want them to learn about the animals, the plants, and yes, even the bugs. The guides do give us a lot of information when we're out in the field, and we want everybody to have a very well-rounded experience. There's a couple myths that we regularly deal with, and one of them is people only think they can see polar bears in October and November. And with our product, we're very much able to offer guests the ability to see polar bears outside of that typical October and November season. We're able to offer polar bear tours in the summer, so not very non-traditional time. Polar bears are in green grass or open water, or you'll see here in the picture the little guy is taking a nice little nap amongst the flowers. And this is really based on the fact that we are a remote location. We're not operating in the town of Churchill. And another thing is most people believe they can only see polar bear in a buggy, and as you can see with this picture here, we've been doing this for, like I said, over 22 years now, and you are able to see a polar bear on the ground. And being in a remote location, we are able to really control that environment more than they are able to do that from the town of Churchill. Which kind of leads into the question, is walking with polar bears safe? In all of the years that we have been doing polar bear tours, we've never had a bear injured, and we've never had a guest injured. So it's really important for us to make sure that safety standard stays there. So we definitely don't want to be in a position where we have an injury. When the guests arrive at the lodge, we do go over a general lodge operations, and then the guides will then come in and talk about safety procedures, things that they need to know before they head out onto the tundra for their first walk. And apart to that, the guides will definitely explain all of their polar bear deterrence while they're at the lodge. And our specialist guides have been with us for many, many years, and they're well trained in being able to interact with polar bears on the ground. So there's a lot of expertise that comes, and then the guests will really feel that once we are able to go over all of the orientation parts. The staff that we do have at the lodge, like I said, has been with us for many, many years. They've got a lot of training. They're also guides professionally, so a lot of them are actually bear guides in BC as well. Albert, or Butch, he's in the top right-hand corner. He's actually been in northern Manitoba guiding for over 30 years. So we gain a lot of expertise from that as well. We're very committed to sustainability, so all of our lodges have been converted to solar power, and we are able to offer 24-hour power for our guests. When we switched over to solar power, we decreased our fuel consumption by 75%, which is huge considering we're a remote fly-in lodge. So everything we fly into the lodge, we want to make sure we consume it so that we're not having to fly a bunch of stuff back out after the season ends. We're not just about polar bears. We have belugas in the summer. The Churchill area is also known as the beluga capital of the world, as well as the polar bear capital of the world. And at the lodges, we have 6 which are Arctic ground squirrels. He's in the bottom left-hand corner. The moose, wolves, caribou, wolverine, who's in the right-hand corner there, Arctic and colored foxes, and many, many species of birds. So we're not just about polar bears. We want the guests to see everything that the area has to offer. It's a photographer's dream to be on the ground with polar bears. As you can see from these pictures, it really does create a very unique opportunity. The picture in the top right-hand corner was actually taken by a photographer at Seal River Lodge. All of our lodges do have a fenced-in area, and what the photographer did was lay inside of the fence line. And because of the type of fencing we have, it actually just looks like the photographer is laying in front of the polar bear. So being able to come and see the wildlife and be able to take some amazing shots back to their friends and family to share, it's a really great experience. This is a map that actually shows the 3 lodges that we offer. So first on the top left is the Seal River Lodge, and then right below that is the Diamond Lake Lodge. And then you scoot all the way down to the right-hand side where you can see our Nanook Polar Bear Lodge. So these are the 3 locations. We also have some offerings out of our North Knife Lake Lodge. It's actually owned and operated by our sister company, and we do some very high-end one-off trips there in the dead of winter for Northern Lights, which is obviously another option for guests. This is a topographical map that will actually show all of the rivers and streams heading out into the bay. So the area in northern Manitoba is very, very wet, and by the looks of this map you can actually see why. Air travel from Churchill, or to Churchill, from Winnipeg is via Comair. It's a regional jet service, so they have a few different planes that they operate from, and their passenger would be about 30 all the way up to 80 people per flight, and they run ATRs and all the way up to a 737. The charter flight out to the lodges from Churchill holds 7 to 8 passengers per plane, and that will be by Turbo Otter or Turbo Beaver. Here's our Seal River Heritage Lodge. This is a 30-minute flight north of Churchill. Our Diamond Lake Lodge is a 15-minute flight north of Churchill. And our Nanook Polar Bear Lodge is our most remote lodge, and it takes 60 to 70 minutes to fly from Churchill out to Nanook Lodge, and that is actually south of Churchill. All properties do offer 24-hour power, running water, flush toilets, so you have the comforts of home. The rooms at the lodge are 8 private rooms, and each room has an ensuite bathroom. And this means that there is normally 16 guests per departure. Each lodge also has a fenced-in area behind the lodge, and this allows the guests a little bit of freedom to move around the yard, because once they're at the lodge, they're really not allowed to be out walking on their own. So it gives them a little bit of room to move. Each of the lodges has a viewing tower, so they are able to get up and over all the buildings to take some more pictures. There's a dining and lounge area, and most guests are excited that there is satellite internet, so they are able to keep in touch with friends and family while they're at the lodge. Our first safari that we offer starting in July, actually we're very close to the start of our season, is Birds, Bears, and Belugas. It's an 8-day package out of Seal River Lodge, and it's a great time for families because the kids are already out of school, and these departures start July and go into the end of August. It is also the Canadian Signature Experience. We were handpicked initially in the program, so we're very proud of that. It does give the guests the ability to see polar bears in a non-traditional time in warm weather, tundra blooms. It's also a great time to see the belugas. There's about 60,000 belugas in the Hudson Bay during the summer months, and most of the time they're spending that time very close to shore, and a lot of that is spent in the Seal River estuary as well as the Churchill River estuary. So we're actually beluga viewing and beluga swimming, in the mouth of the Seal River, and that's just a very quick short ride, boat ride from the lodge. The other package that we offer in the summertime is the Arctic Discovery Program, and that is 8 days. And what we're trying to do with this package is offer that birds, bears, and beluga experience. And we have multiple properties. So what we've done is the Arctic Discovery is actually based out of our Nanook Polar Bear Lodge. And with this program, we have a guide that spends time with the guests in the town of Churchill. So we have 2 nights in Churchill where they have an opportunity for 4 beluga tours. So that is just focused around the beluga portion. And then flying down to Nanook Polar Bear Lodge where they will have the polar bear experience. The Hudson Bay Odyssey starts at the end of August and goes into September, and it is at our Nanook Polar Bear Lodge. This is kind of starting to get into the time where it's good for Northern Lights viewing as well. It's definitely a birder's paradise as well. There's 175 different species of birds. We actually had a bird count done by the Manitoba Birders Association, and when they were there, they counted 175 species. So if you have birders, definitely a good location for them to come. We also have a higher instance of mothers and cubs at this location, specifically due to how many denning sites have been found around the lodge. So very high instances of mothers and cubs. Most of our tours are based on walking tours. At our Nanook Polar Bear Lodge, we actually have what we call a Tundra Rhino, and it's an open-air ATV machine that carries our guests out. Because there's so much standing water in the Nanook area. There's a lot of streams and rivers that we have to pass by. But all of the bear approaches are still done on foot. So you're looking more at riding 50% and walking 50%. So those guests that do want to go out and have that safari feel and are not able to walk for long distances, it's a very good option for them. The Arctic Safari we offer only in September, and we offer only 2 departures. So it's a 9-day package based out of our Seal River Heritage Lodge, and this particular package has a caribou migration. We fly out to our sister property in the northern part of Manitoba where they're able to see the migrating masses of caribou moving through that area. Also gives them a higher opportunity to see wolves and even the barren ground grizzly as well. The Great Ice Bear Adventure is definitely that overall best package to kind of experience both options. So we do have the walking part at our Diamond Lake Lodge where they get to spend 3 nights at the lodge doing on the ground wildlife viewing, and then we transfer guests back to Churchill and we charter a tundra buggy. So it's just the guest at the lodge that will be the guest on the buggy. So the group travels through the whole departure together, but it gives them the on-the-ground as well as the buggy experience. So it's the best of both worlds. And this is catered to non-photographer type, so the average traveler who wants to come and experience the wildlife, experience the landscape, and take some shots. And then that is why we also offer the other package during that period of time, October, November, is our Polar Bear Photo Safari. These photographers are definitely going to be carrying large amounts of gear, as you can see in this photo. They are more interested in setting up their shot. They want perfect light. Definitely for avid photographers into professional, they are some of the departures that we offer will have workshops on photography. The guides are very in tune with what a photographer wants. So we definitely want to make sure that the guest is matched up with the right program. And that is why we offer the 2 programs in the fall, because the fall time is definitely more when photographers want to come. They want to have a white all night experience, whereas the snow and the white polar bear. This year, for 2017, we have 2 dual lodge safaris. We offer the one in September in August, and then one in the fall that is being offered in October. And it's a combination of 2 lodges. So they'll spend a few nights at Seal River Lodge, then they will, for the summer one, will spend 1 night in Churchill, and then they will transfer down to spend 3 nights at Nanook. So it gives them a really good opportunity to extend their experience. Some people are looking for a slightly longer departure, and maybe for those guests that really can't decide which lodge that they want to go to, and this enables them to be able to visit both lodges on one trip. To talk a little bit about our Northern Lights, summertime we don't really suggest the Northern Lights. It is possible in summer. They're just not as vibrant as you would see them. The more perfect time actually is to come in February and March, but there's no polar bears in February and March. So to combine the Northern Lights with the polar bears, we suggest mid-September into November. And the Churchill area has 300 nights a year of Northern Lights, but the factor is that we do need to have clear sky. And guests don't have to get up in the middle of the night. We do have a few guests that say, you know what, I heard Northern Lights are best to come out at 3 in the morning, and they get up at 3 in the morning. But we actually have staff that monitor the sky during their stay. So if the lights do come out at 2, they actually go around and wake everybody up for the experience. The packages we offer are packages, and they are based out of Winnipeg. So you would get the guest into Winnipeg, and then we take care of everything after that. And the package really covers most of the expenses: ground transfers, accommodations at the lodge and Winnipeg hotels, pre-trip orientation, the hikes, the equipment for the beluga swims. There's just going to be some meals throughout the package that are not included as part of the package. The cuisine is very much part of their time at the lodge. We like to also incorporate the use of local foods. So guests may have an experience to, we have an opportunity to try caribou appetizer or fish dinner. The nice thing is that we have a variety throughout their stay, and it's not going to be a restaurant menu style. The dining is definitely set up as a family dinner. The 3 courses are provided, and we serve the plates onto the table, and the guest will pass around the plate and take as much vegetables or as much meat as they prefer. We definitely do work with many dietary requirements like gluten-free or allergies and vegetarians, and we just make sure that that information is provided well in advance so we are able to properly prepare for them. And we do ask the guests to switch seats as they go through each meal, because this does allow them to get to know each other as a group, and kind of instead of getting to know only a few people on the departure. Beer and wine is served with appetizers and dinner, and there is no extra charge for that. That's included as part of the package. The daily structure for most of the time will be breakfast at 8, and they actually start serving coffee at 7 a.m. Lunch is at noon, and appetizers start at 6:30 and dinner follows shortly after. For the day walks, they're normally out about 9 a.m. and then they're back for lunch, and then they go out again in the afternoon, and the end of the day typically happens at about 4:30 p.m. They do have 2 main hikes of the day, like I said, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and they last for about 3 hours. If the guests are only out for an hour, that usually means that the weather is absolutely terrible and they're not able to stay out for long. But honestly, our worst weather days tend to be our best wildlife viewing days, so we definitely want to make sure that they have the appropriate gear to be out when they need. So having said that, in the fall time in October and November, when it's much colder, we actually do have winter gear that can be rented through us, and we have a package that would offer the parka, insulated pants, and insulated boots. But if the guests do come to you and say, yes, I have my winter gear, the gear rating needs to be at least -40 Celsius, and they will need enough gear that they will have all of their exposed skin covered, especially into the October and November season. Once we get out into the field, it's easier to take something off if you get a little warm than it is to find something to put on because you're too cold. And we are traveling as a group, so we want to make sure that everybody is appropriately dressed. Some excursions that can be added onto the trip is a helicopter, charter, or dog sledding. We do have a little bit of free time on all of our packages. In the summertime, it's not so important to have a trip add-on. It's more the fall time that people are looking to do something a little bit extra. Our guests are very seasoned travelers. They're seeking inspiration and checking off bucket list items. Our minimum age is 8. We've seen as old as 85, sometimes a little bit older, but they definitely need to be able to participate in the walks with the group. We have a very high customer satisfaction rating, which is great for us. It's great for you, and ultimately it's great for the guest, as we want them to be able to share their stories and their experiences with their friends and family, as we would love to have their friends and family come and visit us in the future. So some of the big questions that we do have during the booking process is, when is the best time? And there really isn't a best time for us because we're able to offer tours in July. The best time to come to us is July to November. The polar bears are coming off the ice now, and so the end of June, and they're going to be walking the coastline during the time of July to November, and this is kind of their quiet time. They're really not actively hunting. They're kind of living off their body fat, and they're biding their time until the end of November when the day freezes and they can head out again to hunt for the winter. So your viewing chances in July are as good as they are in October with us. And polar bears don't have an outside source that increases or decreases their number. Not like you would see with grizzlies. When the salmon are running, their numbers are higher and they're more active and you can see them. With polar bears, it's not the same. Polar bears definitely don't travel in groups. If you're seeing polar bears, you'll see one here and you'll see one there, and sometimes they'll cross paths. So you will see from time to time 2 or 3 bears together, but for the most part, they are solitary animals. If guests want snow, they definitely have to come the first week of November into the 3rd week of November. It is snowing in October, but not much that is actually sticking to the ground. And how many people per departure? On average, it's 16 guests per departure. In Nunavut in the fall, we have 14 guests per departure. And minimum age is 8 for the kids, and most of the time we see kids in July and early to mid-August. After that, we don't see a lot of kids. So sometimes adults don't want to be booked on trips with kids. I would say pretty much to kind of avoid that July and August time period, because that is a higher time for kids. The luggage allowance, it's really good actually. The guests are allowed 1 duffel bag weighing 50 pounds and 1 or 2 pieces of carry-on, and that can't weigh more than 20 pounds combined. So that gives them 70 pounds of gear to take on their trip. If guests have a longer time in Canada, or they're traveling for longer periods of time, they're likely going to have gear that they don't need to take north with them. We can have them leave any excess luggage at the hotel in Winnipeg. There is no charge for that. Also, if they don't have a duffel bag, we do have duffel bags that they can access at the dinner that they could borrow for their time at the lodge. So regarding bookings, to make a booking or inquiry, you can contact me directly. My name is Doreen Booth, and I can be reached at doreen@churchillwild.com or info@churchillwild.com. You can also visit our website at churchillwild.com, and it has all of our pricing as well as an outline of all the itineraries as well. If you have a guest that is really interested, we are able to do a complimentary hold for 48 hours. And to make a booking, we do need to have a completed booking form on file for your passengers. And the deposit requirement is $3,000 per person due at the time of booking. And the remainder would be due 90 days prior to departure. So all quoted values that we would provide are all based on Canadian funds as well. And definitely want to thank you for taking the time to check out our product. And if you definitely have any questions, feel free to contact me directly. I'm very easy to get hold of. And hopefully look forward to working with you in the future. All right, take care. Thanks.